Hey guys, in yesterday's video, you saw us talk about the power rankings for the defenders. In today's video, we're talking midfielders. Joe, we've been talking off air about what we're going to do in Supercoach in terms of stacking our midfielders, but not really the guys who we've actually ranked in the top 10. I guess that's what today's video is about, right?
Yeah, top 11, as much as we can fit in the Supercoach select team selector, but we'll be going over the top 11 as well as some honorable mentions who could be pushing the envelopes, trying to stake their case that they are among the top echelon of Supercoach midfielders in 2024.
Yeah, it really does feel like there's probably 3 or 4 guys that everyone will have at some point, but then that next group, we're talking maybe 5 to like 13, 14, 15 that are very, very close in scoring. Today we'll kind of highlight that a little bit, give our rankings, but obviously it kind of depends on what you think. And then a lot of matchup situations as well.
As well as the list in availability of players, like someone that you'll see at number 2 in our list, in our list today. So fingers crossed that things go as we predict. But without further ado, let us go. Just like we did with the defenders, we're sort of going to go backwards.
Yep. So first off on our list, we've got a pair of Freo Boys. So it's either going to be a Caleb Sarong or an Andy Brayshaw. 2 players who have definitely been around the cusp, but maybe aren't in that top echelon yet. I know that Freo's been predicted quite highly to actually drop down the ladder or, be quite poor this year. Maybe that's affecting it a little bit. I think age as well. But, yeah, they're our top 11.
Yeah, these 2 Freo boys scored really close to each other, and we can sort of see that in the pricing that they've got here as well. I think they're both just taking another step in their careers. It's over there at Fremantle. They're both hitting the primes, their prime age, and they're going to have some assistance from Hayden Young, who we also featured very highly in our defender video power ranking yesterday. So if you haven't watched that, check it out. But yes, we reckon probably one of these 2. It's unlikely that both of them are going to be in the top bracket. So one of them, though, I think is a fair shout at making it.
Yeah, and I definitely think so. I think it really just comes down to the age profile a little bit for either of them. But as you say, and the good thing is both don't play that early buy. So someone's going to pick one of these guys in majority of their teams. It just depends which one.
And if they're going to lose a lot of games, it means they're going to concede a lot of goals. And if they concede a lot of goals, it means there's a lot of centre bounce attendances. And as we know here at the centre bounce, we love centre bounces. And these guys are going to feature heavily in that department. So they probably will be. Yeah, exactly. So that's why one of these 2 will be in the top bracket. We then move to number 10 on the list. And it is another young gun who really burst onto the scene last year in Errol Golden. He played a bit on the wing, had played a lot on the ball, around the ball as well. And he really just came into prominence in the preseason game where he scored 160-odd Supercoach points and put us all on attention.
Yeah, he's always been around the mark. I think last year with him being available in the forward line at a reduced price, I think he was just under 500K. So it really meant that a lot of people could start him and not get punished as much. Sydney's midfield has definitely changed over the last couple of years. And with Kennedy kind of leaving, so many young kids are getting a shot. Errol Golden, Chad Warner, whatnot. Heck, even a James Jordan this year. It's a real tricky one. And I think Errol Golden's primed to have a fantastic year.
His skill set enables him to score incredibly well, even if he's not featuring heavily in the centre bounces. He's got this great maneuverability. He's very agile, and he's a sensational ball user. And that's what we had a lot of, I suppose, expectation in 2023, why we can rely on him moving higher up the ground, because Sydney have, for the longest time, had a lot of grunt work, but they didn't have the class to hit up their forwards, and that's what Errol Golden provided. So even if he spends some prolonged minutes on a wing, he is one of the best wingers in the competition, if not the best, and he's still able to score really well. So we expect more progression from young Errol.
Yeah. The only thing that's going to hold a lot of people back from starting him, and I've seen a lot of teams at the moment, has just been that early buy. he misses one of the games early. People are like, well, cool. I'll wait till after the buys to pick him up. Maybe that's the right strategy, but you got to really seriously consider this guy on your team.
Absolutely. We then move to the next person up above them, and it is everyone's favorite Brisbane Lion player, ex-Dog, Josh Dunkley. We're not going to say Joe Danaher because no one likes Joe Danaher. Stuff Joe Danaher. We all love Josh Dunkley.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame this guy's not available in our forward lines this year. What was it, like 5 or 6 years in a row where the forward line could just be Josh Dunkley territory? We saw how well he did in that Brisbane midfield, and we saw how poorly the Dogs did without him in that midfield last year. So it's one who's really going to step up. I think there's only going to be a little biased because he was forward eligible and now he's not in terms of people picking him. He does have an early buy as well. And I think Brisbane's got a few things to work out. We saw with Ashcroft in the team, Dunkley did really well. But then when Ashcroft wasn't there, Dunkley's role got moved around a little bit, which led to some poorer scores. So some people will start him. Obviously, the best player at Brisbane, they're going to be doing well. It really just depends on what the role is for him and what the makeup of that Brisbane midfield is going to be.
I think having to adjust on the fly in the face of an injury, like what happened with Ashcroft and the Brisbane Lions last year. I mean, we all saw just how significant of a player he was in the role he had in that team. Having him suddenly go out in the middle of the season can cause you to make some changes that you didn't foresee. Whereas now the Brisbane Lions are coming into 2024 knowing that Ashcroft will not be featuring in their starting side. So they can have in place the exact setup that they're going to have, and they're going to be carrying that forward into 2024. So I think Josh Dunkley probably is going to be a bit more rejuvenated coming in. There's going to be a lot more certainty around the exact way that they're going to play. Plus, they can have a plan in place for when Ashcroft comes back. If he comes back, hopefully fitter than ever, then he can come straight in. And as we've seen in the past, Dunkley with Ashcroft flourishes. So if he can come off to a flying start, would be great. The only, as you say, Big J, that early buy is an absolute killer for trying to start him.
Yeah, and especially it's killing our next player who we've got on our list. He does play for GWS. He was a favourite last year. Big Tom Green, another player who really does kind of have that early buy. I think they might have round 3 or 4. He does play, West Coast and then North Melbourne. But some people are getting sucked into those two poor teams. Last year, I'm pretty sure we saw a 107 against West Coast and then only a 77 against North Melbourne. So it's not like he's come out and popped 2 150s and whatever. But we know how good he is in GWS's midfield. There were some inconsistent scores last year, but I'm really hoping that the fitness, his fitness base, just the team in general getting a bit older means a lot more of that reliability on him is going to come through. And I think he did a lot better with Briggs as the sole ruckman, which we didn't see at the start of the season last year.
Yes, that's 100% correct. I know a lot of people also, for those who were around, a lot of people thought that 2022 was going to be the year he breaks out. And a lot of people actually did jump on the Tom Green bandwagon, on the Tom Green train in 2022. But unfortunately, he just didn't have the tank in order to fully run out the season, and he petered off. 2023 really was that year. And we saw that even though he had that minor hiccup during the season when he got injured, it still served a great sort of like power nap for him to come back into the season, absolutely dominate upon his return. So we just expect another preseason into him, another preseason with certainty about who the ruckman's going to be. Tom Green and the Giants, I think, are going to dominate. However, I wouldn't be too surprised if he doesn't go massive against North Melbourne. They do have a very strong contested engine, especially if George Wardlaw is healthy and available. He's an absolute beast, that young man. So it's not going to be like he's going to have an easy time with that. So for me, probably leaning not starting him considering that early buy, but there's no doubt that he is in the running for a top 8 finish.
Yeah, I think North Melbourne as well, kind of, as you say, they might be poor in the back line. The forward line is not great, but the midfield's still very good. So it's a tough one.
Speaking about the North Melbourne midfield.
there you go. Segues all day today. Our next player up on the list is that person next door. The next person up on our list is LDU, Luke Davies Uniacke. Fantastic young man, fantastic player. has always just been hurt with injuries. I think a lot of North Melbourne players have been in a similar boat. We know Tom Powell, George Wardlaw, heck, just lucky Harry Sheasel hasn't been in there at the moment. Was pick 4, 2018, has done very, very well, always been touted. But if I roll off some of these numbers from last year, 125, 127, 133, 129, 134, and I can just keep going on, the first 2 rounds, 143, 155. There were people who were scrambling to bring this guy in. He has been hurt from injuries, but he's the main sole engine room in that North Melbourne's midfield. The guy who was that player. Imagine a Lockie Neal at Brisbane a couple of years ago, right? When he won his first Brownlow. He always just got the ball, did everything, whatever. That's how LDU is for North Melbourne at the moment. If he stays fit, you're going to be scrambling to pick him up. No early buy really helps too. So if he finishes preseason, he's fit, does really well in the first 2 games, it's going to be hard to pass him up, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. The upside's definitely there when we saw him play fully fit, and he absolutely dominated the first 2 rounds of the year last year. A lot of people absolutely, I don't know if they've been traumatized or not because of the whole late out with a calf, and all of a sudden Supercoach broke down and just melted with all the people trying to trade him out.
That was pretty funny.
Oh, that was terrible for all the owners, but you can't pick someone with, I suppose, that sort of unluckiness in mind. If, as we said a lot of the times last year, you don't trade into injury-prone players. If you want to have an injury-prone player in your team, you start them off right off the bat. Because if in the event that they do get injured, you only use the one trade to trade them out. However, if you trade someone like an LDU in, you've used a trade to get them in, and if they get injured, then you have to use a trade to get them out again. So we wouldn't recommend you, if you want LDU on your side, we recommend that you start him as opposed to trade him in. So he's been all right. Apart from last year, before that, he was pretty decent with his injury and his consistency. So I reckon there's a fair shout that this guy could finish top 8.
Yeah, when he came back in round 16, massive, massive scores for the last, 6 or 7 rounds. So if you can do that again to start with, you're onto a winner here.
Absolutely. I guess we then move to the next one, who is an absolute winner, and that is Zack Butters. He is going to be the vice captain over there at Port Adelaide. His best mate, Connor Rozee, going to be leading the club into 2024. And he is one of those absolute superstars who has had no time getting used to being in the spotlight. Him, Rozee, Dersma, they were the star trio that were drafted up in that one special draft. And ever since they've been in the club, all the talk has been about these guys. There's been a lot of demand on Ken Hinkley to get him and Rozee up around the ball as opposed to playing them at half forward. And as their careers have continued to unfold, we have seen that move into the midfield. And you just can't take away from Zack Butters his endeavor and his willingness to win a hard ball, and his class is incredible. And we can't forget those last 5 games of the season last year. He went like 139 average, which is absolutely bonkers. It's very hard to predict a regression from him. Another preseason into him doing well, we expect a bump up and a top 8 finish.
Yeah, barring injury, which we hope to no player, there's no way Zack Butters really falls down, especially with a lot of the Port Adelaide mids regressing. We're talking about Boak, Wines, a few of these other guys who really shouldn't be getting much more mid-time. I know we had Zack Butters in our DPP predictions video as someone who potentially could get forward status. He's hoping right, but yeah, he's a fantastic player. As Joe says, really, really good finish to the season last year, which only really flows on to the next year. He hurt me so much not owning him, Joe. And no early buy. Another one of these players who, there are a couple in our top 5, but you got to start him. If you don't have him, early upgrade as quick as you can, because Zack Butters will hurt not owning.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be among the most popular options of those Uber premiums that people start in their side, which means that if you aren't one of those players or one of those coaches who own Zack Butters and he pops off, then you could be in that rare situation where you're left behind the majority of the pack. As our good friend, the Supercoach Godfather Abs, this Godfather likes to label these types of players as blockers, where if everyone gets his big score, then everybody wins. And if everybody gets his bad score, then everybody is in the same boat. You're not being disadvantaged. But to be honest, I can't see any disadvantage at this point to starting Zack Butters.
It's just so exciting to watch. Like, you just see this guy on field. He's one of those players similar to a Sicily, right? Where you just hope he gets the ball, he does something well with it. But when he doesn't get the ball, or when he gets the ball and you don't own him, mate, you're cursing the TV.
Oh, 100%. And he's such a flashy player. It's hard not to see him every time he gets the ball. He's always doing something crazy with it. Someone else who does a lot of crazy things with the football, a cross-town rival. It is Jordan Dawson from the Adelaide Crows, who really hardly been at the club, and yet automatically featured as the captain of the side. Goes to show just how much they rate the guy.
Yeah, he just kind of came in out of nowhere. We knew at Sydney he was always around the mark, but when he came into Adelaide, there just was a position for him. Started off halfback, started off taking kick-ins. Throughout the season, just started to push a little bit more and more into that midfield as players got injured, as some of the young guys fell off. And then we found last year as well, there was a lot more mid-wing time alongside the backline time. So it's going to hurt not to have him. I think the price is probably pushing me away a little bit, and working out what Adelaide needs to do. One of the problems with Adelaide at the moment is the team's really good, right? But they're still struggling to make the top 8. So that maybe that means that they've got to put someone else new into the midfield. Maybe they have to change things up a little bit in the back line. As the captain in the team, you know he's going to play wherever the coach wants him, which could lead to some poorer scores, but he's almost their best backline player. He's almost one of their best midfielders. I don't see them doing too much. It's just that uncertainty at the moment. And no early buy as well.
Yeah, no early buy, and he can do it all. He can even push forward and break Port Adelaide players' hearts up and support. Yeah, after the siren with that incredible showdown goal. So Jordan Dawson can really do anything, and it doesn't matter where he plays. He's still capable of scoring really well. Obviously, it's preferred that he plays around the ball in the midfield, or even coming out of halfback as the designated kicker, which we saw in his first season at Adelaide in 2022, where he played predominantly off halfback, and he actually had defensive DPP as a result of that. This year, he's going to have exclusively midfield status, unless, of course, something changes, like if Matt Crouch really becomes a mainstay in that midfield. But they really need the outside kicking ability of Jordan Dawson. I know he single-handedly tore Carlton apart over that Adelaide Oval. He is such a damaging player by foot. He kicks the ball inside 50 to a Tex Walker, to a Phil Thorpe, to a Fogarty. He will hit their chest on the lead, and there's nothing their defenders can do about it. So wouldn't be surprised if he actually cops a bit more attention from opposition coaches in the form of a soft tag, because he is that dangerous. You can't let Dawson off the hook.
I guess if they do that, then they're gonna not be able to stop someone else. So, it's a bit of a Nick Dacos conundrum, right? Go after the best player and the rest of the team just smashes you. I don't know if they'll do that as much, but one to watch.
Absolutely. We then move to the next player on the list, and that is my boy, Zack Merritt, captain of the Essendon Football Club, someone that we've needed for the longest time to take the helm. And as we saw that he featured really well, he finished number 5 in terms of the averages in the midfield for 2023. I expect that he's going to continue to dominate as our best midfielder. He is going to be now entering the second season as a captain under the helm, and it just means that he gets used to the role. He's, I suppose, refining his leadership style to focus a lot on his game plan, on his gameplay, and his ferociousness around the ball in tackling. He gets a lot of free kicks for that. He's also a magnificent ball user. And we're going to have a much more improved forward line, I imagine, this year, with Peter Wright being healthy from the start. Langford showed that he's capable of kicking 50 goals plus in a season. We've added Gresham to the side, so he's also capable of presenting as an option. Nate Caddy could feature and could take a screamer. So we might see some more score assists coming from Zack Merritt this year.
Yeah, I mean, we know how good of a kick he is on both sides, right? And you'd hope with the 4 additions now to the best 22, Joe, this year, that Zack Merritt's going to be helping to lead the team into the final series, which generally means that Zack Merritt, alongside one of our honourable mentions today, should score better because the team's better. And you've actually got a ruckman in Goldstein coming into the side, so that's got to help too, right?
Oh, yeah, Goldstein, massive respect and thanks and adulation to Andrew Phillips, who came across really a journeyman. He played for 4 different clubs by the end of his career and had a career best season for us last year. So massive props to him. But there's only one Todd Goldstein, and he's got the most hitouts in the history of the game in terms of all the hitouts. So a massive thank you to North Melbourne for for letting him come across to us. Very much appreciated.
Mate, he's not going to win a final at my club. He's not going to do that at your club either. So sorry, Goldie.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Take that money while you can.
Someone who might win a final this year.
Yep, you'd hope so.
So along the lines of a Jordan Dawson, Rory Laird, one of the absolute stalwarts over there at the Crows. He's been doing it really under the radar for many years. If he was playing for a Victorian side, I imagine he'd get a lot more attention.
Yeah, I think so. The only issue I have with Rory Laird at the moment is just the age. We know that a lot of these players on our list are under 30, whereas Rory Laird really comes into that 30-year-old makeup this year. Midfielders aren't as bad. Defenders aren't as bad. Forward line, definitely, as you get older, is not great, but you do regress a little bit. A lot of people got burnt making him a captain score against the Giants last year. Scored a 50. I know that happened to Joe as well. It wasn't great. But outside of that, Rory Laird's got some fantastic numbers. And as Adelaide's team starts to mature, as the kids maybe fall off a little bit, like I said with Jordan Dawson, Rory Laird's going to come in, be that guy they need. Scored 156. He's definitely got a few 140s, a few 130s, a couple of 150s, and a couple of 120s in his scoring from last year. So we know he can rack up the big numbers. We just hope he can do that again this year.
I've been pretty bullish on Rory Laird being a bit higher up on this ladder, which is why he's at number 3 now, because his birthday is after the season ends, so he's really just turned 30. So it's not like it can be a little bit misleading if we say he's already 30 years old. He turns 31 after the season in December. He's also hasn't played his whole career in the midfield. He was for the longest time a defense-only option, so he hasn't really had too many years compared to other full, career midfielders in the bash and crash of the inside mid role. And I think that I think Adelaide will require him to continue to play in that way. He's going to be obviously their preferred over a Matt Crouch. If anyone was to lose their spot in the side, it would be Crouch. They do still need a contested ball winner like a Laird in there. They're starting to try and filter a bit more outside run, like a Rankin or a Pedler. Obviously, they've got Dawson there. They're going to need, even Rochelle can feature in some centre balance attendances as well in 2023. So I think Laird is going to have a really important role to play, feeding the ball out to them. So I reckon he is. Plus, he had a less effect on his scoring compared to Dawson with Crouch in the midfield. So that's another reason why we've got Laird above Dawson.
Yeah, 100% there. The next person on our list is dependent a little bit, maybe not dependent, but their position is dependent on another player not playing as much. We're talking Clayton Oliver. It looks like he might miss the first half of the season. And when Clayton Oliver didn't play, Christian Petracca was pumping out big numbers in 2023. We're talking 120 plus every single week. And he really hurt Joe when I didn't own him in my team.
Yeah, I know. So when someone's dropping 124 on you for a span of 10 weeks, it can hurt, mate. Absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't there. I actually owned him. I was very happy.
Clayton Oliver, not Clayton, Petracca's fantastic player, can play a little bit of that half-forward midfield role, which hopefully won't happen as much this year with Melbourne bringing in the likes of Billings and a couple of other players and their younger guys maturing, which means that Petracca should really stick to that role. Similar to a few of these other midfielders, though, he loves a goal. He will burst through the middle and do that and kick a goal. We saw last year where he almost got DPP status. It was about 0.5%. This year, he was almost DPP, 0.5% as well. Imagine if this guy had DPP, Joe. He would be literally the first lock player in everyone's team. Forget early buy. It's just Petracca time.
Yeah, he'd be the new Dunkley in all of our Supercoach sides. But also, another thing that really, I suppose, is really exciting about Petracca, all the preseason reports have him dominating in the midfield. I know they used to also have Angus Brayshaw rotating through there when Oliver wasn't in the side, but he is one concussion away from being done for his career. He almost couldn't come back after that Braden Maynard incident on him last year. So for him to play around again, I can't see them dedicating a lot of centre bounce time and really inside mid-time to Brayshaw, really for his well-being and the longevity of his career. So I think that just means more responsibility for the dynamic Christian Petracca. I'll never forget that grand final where he absolutely tore the Bulldogs apart by himself. That was an incredible performance.
He basically said, "Cool, halftime's finished. Let's go.
Follow me, boys. Let's go."
During halftime, and then that was it.
Exactly. Which leaves only one spot left, and you can only imagine who it is going to be. Sam Walsh. Look, we'll talk about Sam Walsh in a bit, but it's Marcus the Bontempelli, who is. Is there anything this man cannot do? Seriously.
Well, we know he can kick goals. We know he can play through the midfield. I'm not sure if we've seen him take kickouts yet. We know Bevo's gone a bit nasty with English taking kickouts and playing in the back line. Imagine if Bont got DPP as a defender. Like, yep, we just need someone who can run through the middle. You can't tackle him. Let's go Bontempelli halfback.
I'm actually right now looking up to see whether or not Bontempelli has taken kick-ins, because he has. He took one kick-in in 2023, one kick-in in 2022, and one kick-in in 2021. He's taken one kick-in each of the last 3 seasons. Hopefully, we can see a little bit more from him this year. But honestly, Bontempelli is such a freak. He's got the size, he's got the agility, he's got the ball use. He can take marks. He can rest forward and take marks over other people. He can kick on both sides. He can run down people. Like, he can pitch it in the ruck. Like, there's nothing this man, honestly, Marcus Bontempelli is an absolute freak of nature. And I do not see a world where this guy does not feature very heavily in the Brownlow medal count. He's been robbed the last couple of seasons. He's been really close to winning it. It's probably down to him and Dacos and maybe Walsh as well for trying to take it out this year, because Bontempelli, he's such a special talent, and his ceiling is unlike any other midfielders in the comp.
Yeah. So there's really I think Dacos kind of going on a tangent. I think Dacos has got it, but there's really only 2 reasons why we're not picking Bont to start with, and there is a bit of a toss-up between a lot of teams. The first one is pre-season, right? People have come in and said, yep, he's done his injuries, he's come off surgeries, whatnot. Okay, I understand, but it looks like he's back to full training, so there's no big deal there. Players get off-season surgeries all the time. The next one is in his price. And I know, Joe, we were talking a little bit on how much we think Bontempelli is actually going to drop in price. And you were saying, looking at his scores, we might only get him at 650K. So is there much really hold out on not picking Bont to start with?
Yeah, I don't think there is. Like, if he drops to about 650,000, even 640,000, you know, you're saving $70,000-$80,000. And as we know, we like the number of what we consider the value of each trade has continuously gone down over the years based on how many trades we've got. It used to be that if you could make 150,000 off of a trade, it was successful. The trades went up to 36. It became roughly 120. And now with increased trades, it's around about $100,000 the worth of a trade. So if $100,000 is what a trade is worth, if you're saving $70,000 on picking him, it's less than $100,000. And for me, I just think that getting someone who I anticipate to be the number 1 midfielder for the season at 720, I think it is a fair price to pay. Plus, his early run isn't the worst. He's got West Coast very early on in round 3 at Marvel. I know he plays at Mars Stadium in round 2, which is a location that he loves to play in as well. So I just don't see him. Yeah, he's out of this world. He plays on Mars, and it seems like he's from Mars when he plays there. So Mars Bontempelli is, I think, going to be in my starting side at this point.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. No early buy as well. Just kind of almost pushes him over the line for me. I think there's going to be really the haves and have-nots, and it's going to be, do you own Bont or not this year? And there's a captain score every week as well, which is another big thing.
Absolutely. Which we then move to the honorable mentions over there, which obviously we can't fit here, but we'll sort of have them listed down here, as you can see there. Starting off with everyone's favorite Carlton player, Sam Walsh. He is, it's that early buy. If not for that early buy, I reckon all of us would probably own him at this point.
Yeah, and coming off injuries as well, it's always kind of something that you say, well, we hope he can go from being a fantastic player 2 years ago to kind of back into those books, but I don't know if he's pushing out any of our top 11 players at the moment. Hopefully he does for Carlton's sake.
I mean, he certainly has the capability to do so. I know his finals run, I think he was probably the player of the final series last year, the way he went bananas in those 3 games when he went like a 122, which obviously if he's going 120 plus would put him absolutely in the top 11, even top 6 bracket. But we'll have to wait and see. They do have a stacked midfield over there, Carlton.
Do it in the real games. Let's see it happen.
Let's see it happen. Touk Miller, sort of spoken about him as well in previous videos. He had gone over 120 average the last 2 seasons before 2023, where he got injured. So he's got a history, a sustained history of scoring 120 plus. It's just a wait and see on the sort of role that he's going to play under a Dimmer Hardwick-led Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah, and I think last year, I don't know if it was injuries or coming back from injuries and his role kind of getting taken away from him that really, really hurt. Hopefully some of that doesn't happen as much. As you say, new coach, new team. I think Dimmer's one of those ones who isn't really going to come in here and say, well, we're going to spend a couple of years to let you guys play the way you were, and then I'll figure out my side. Well, I reckon he's going to come in and say, cool, these are what you're good at. Give me 2 weeks, we'll make a team out of you. So hopefully Touk Miller goes back to what his scoring was, 2 years ago.
Yeah, Place has got the early buy. Again, a regular feature with all these top players. Yeah.
Your boy Darcy Parish, Joe. I know you were pretty keen on maybe even having him in the top 10, top 11, but why is Darcy Parish on our honourable mentions this year?
Because he is in absolutely ripping form. He is by far and away our best contested ball winner. And if the Bombers are going to be pushing finals, it means they have to be doing well out of the midfield. And he is looking in ripper shape. He's going to be a father soon. His partner's pregnant, so he's just been given life membership at the club as well. So everything is coming up peachy. Everything's coming up DP3. So everything is just in, I suppose, the overall vibe. The vibe is very nice, and I can see him reclaiming that career best form from a couple of years ago, where he went on average of 119. I can see him recapture that, and a 119 average would put him in the top 8.
There you go. Second last on our list is Big Jai Newcomb. So if I come in here and read these out with you, 2021 when he got drafted, averaged to 45. 2022, 86. Last year, 98. Natural progression has him scoring like a 105, 110. And I know a lot of Hawks fans are saying, hey, he could do it. That midfield role that Tom Mitchell left a couple of years ago really, really like opened up a lot of space for players like Jai Newcomb to come in and do quite well. And we've seen how good he is. The guy tackles, the guy runs. It's almost like a fit LDU on field for Hawthorn. And they got him basically for free in the mid-season draft.
Yeah, a lot of optimism around him. And I'm seeing a lot of early teams at this point also getting him in the side. I think a lot of it has got to do, as you mentioned, with that nice price point. A lot of these Uber mids are quite expensive, and we're trying to find value where we can find it. And they're really banking in on the natural progression with those incredible big muscle pictures. He looks incredible. Can't deny the nuke. The Duke is nuking at this point.
There you go. The last on our list is someone who probably should have got named a little bit with our number 6, Zack Butters, but it is Big Connor Rozee. So we know how well the kid's been doing. He's now been named the captain of the Port Adelaide Football Club, which I think is just bonkers. Like, the guy's 23 or something, and he's already the captain of the club. So shows how much they love him. I just don't know if his scoring is going to be as consistent. And first year as captain, I think there's a bit of pressures on there as well. So that's why he's in our honourable mentions. He is one that misses out on the buy round early. So you can pick him up if you want to. But I just don't know if he's going to be there as much in the scoring, Joe.
Yeah, I hear that. But Zack Merritt had his first season at the helm as captain as well, and he finished in the top 4 for average in the midfield in 2023. So I think there's certainly scope for first-year captains to still do really well. Same thing with Dawson. I know he's not 23 years old, but Connor Rozee is an absolute freak. And I know you're talking about progression with Jai Newcomb. I think there's also some progression with Connor Rozee as well. I think so. Ever since he's come in year upon year, he's averaged 70 to 73 to 93 to 106. So there is a bump up. We're also seeing a bump up in his CBAs. from 12% to 50% to 69% last year. Very nice, 69%. So, you know, progression would say that, you know, he's getting some more time on field. He's getting more time in the CBAs, and he's increasing his points. As a leader and a captain of the side, he might be given even more responsibility to feature through that midfield, perhaps. So they'll be looking to get the ball in his hands. He is a classy player, and by all reports, he's absolutely dominating again in the preseason. So unlike Connor Rozee, he's also one of those players like Fremantle who have that very nice juicy buy. So and another reason to like Connor Rozee.
For all you Port Adelaide fans who are watching, yelling at the TV, Rozee is 24. I did say 23, but he's 24. So don't need to post it downstairs if you don't want to.
There you go. One of his criticisms are gone. That's it. Connor Rozee's got the big tick of approval now.
600K, lock him in.
So let us know, guys.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Have we gone bonkers? Big J and Joe, why are you not picking my favorite player, Tim Kelly, in your top rankings? You know, he's going to dominate West Coast team. Tim Taranto was there last year. Why is he not there this year? Blah, blah, blah. Let us know down in the comments if we've missed anyone, if you like what we've said, or if we're just talking rubbish.
No, there's no rubbish being said here. We're spitting facts. And if you don't like it, come at us in the comments down below. More than happy to engage with you guys. It's been absolutely incredible, the level of engagement that we've had so far this preseason with all these videos and the support that you guys have given us. We're absolutely loving every minute of it. And we really hope that you guys are too. So if you're new, drop us a like and a subscription. Greatly helps the growth of our channel, which we're really enjoying. And hit that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss any of the videos that we are continuing to pump out.
And guys, remember, we've just launched our Supercoach League for this year, where you guys can win some amazing prizes. We've got a jersey, some AFL tickets, and an AFL voucher as well up for grabs. I'm going to post down in the comments in the description of this video kind of how you join in the video for that.
Yeah, absolutely, because the code to the Open League is in that video. So head on over to that as well. And we look forward to playing in 2024 with all of you.
Remember, guys, here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you don't have to. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.